Hi, Terrence back, doing video number 3. I realized in the last video I did not finish off what happened with the 3 UFOs in the sky. So after sighting them and my jaw hitting the ground, uh, I went back around the side of the dealership, kind of running and, to get back to my girlfriend and tell her what happened. And I've asked her about it in the past about, where were you? Like, why didn't you follow me? Never really get an answer. But so as I was running back around the back around the side of the dealership to go back to where we were parked, there was an officer there that had arrived in the time that I had left, and I have his name still. I won't forget it. And so I was excited, obviously, and I lost my voice that day. So I realized how he was responding. Like, his stance changed as I came up, and I realized that, I'm probably a little excited, and maybe I should, you know, not be so excited so that I don't cause him any concern. And I explained exactly what happened, everything I pretty much said right here in the last video. So then he came back around the side of the dealership to go look, and I was explaining how they went over and like they were above and then they went down, everything that happened, and there was nothing there. I had left when everything was gone. The ones to the right side of the rainbow went out again, and that's when I left after the one shot under the rainbow. So as we were standing there looking, and I'm explaining it, and I said, "You see that? Those are seagulls, easy to see, pinpoints of look like a light because of the reflection of the sun. Those are definitely seagulls. These were different." And as I'm explaining, they were at the right side of the rainbow. Again, I don't remember exactly how many turned on, but it wasn't more than the initial 5 that were there. So then he said, as we're talking, another few of them turned on, and I went, right there, do you see it? And he didn't answer as I'm looking. So I turned and looked at him to see why he wasn't answering, and he had this look on his face, like he stopped, and he was like just staring. And I said, "Do you see it?" And he says, "Yeah." And I noticed that he had a Polaroid camera hanging from his neck, and I don't know why he had that with him. Whether he was there on the lot for a family vehicle, whether he was there doing business for a vehicle that was an accident, I don't know. But I mean, I'll keep his name private. But if I had to tell somebody, I would. So he was staring, and then he appeared to like shake his head and like snap out of it. And I said, that camera. I didn't say that camera. I said, "Can you take a picture? Like, take a picture." And he says, "Oh no," that's when he kind of went back to a different behavior. And he says, "Oh, I got 2 shots left, and I got to get this car." And I said, "I'll pay for the film. Just take the picture, please." And he says, "No, really, I can't." And I said, "Well, you know what? I want your name and your badge number, because nobody's going to believe me when I tell this." And he gave it to me, and that's how I still know it. It's ingrained in my head because it was an unbelievable experience. So then I left that day, and I was telling everyone that I was so excited after seeing that I did lose my voice slightly. It was difficult. So to try to get over those emotions, like, that was just mind blowing. It would blow anyone's mind. If you've seen that, it changes your perspective on reality. It changes everything. So I was going to that concludes that sighting. I've had many sightings, as I said, I think in the first video, over the years, and some very interesting sightings. One of them was two of them on my property. One of them was in a storm, and we still have the phone. It was, my son says it was deleted, but there was a video that he gave me a snapshot of it was a red, low flying object, solid red, low cloud level in a storm. I know clouds are low in a storm, but it was red moving over the neighborhood, and when the lightning flashed behind it, there was actually a dark shadow of just not a disc, but not circular, but not oval, just a blobby form, and it was behind there. And I had the still shot on an old phone, so I'd have to see if I can find that, and he would have had the video. And again, we weren't anticipating seeing that. We were on our way into the house, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, that was low. But anyways, I was going to go on to an experience I had when I was probably in my early 20s. See, I'm not really good with dates and names, but faces I don't forget. And it was probably in my early 20s. It never happened before that. It's never happened since. Never got into drugs or smoking or anything like that. Little bit of drinking, but not excessive. It was like on a Sunday. So I was always a sober, clear-minded person. And I'm sorry for the past videos. I haven't been, I'm not comfortable speaking to an inanimate object like a camera, so it's a little awkward. But I'm going to try and get a little better at talking to cameras. So anyways, I was probably in my early 20s. This was a different girlfriend. I just dropped her off at work. She had a morning shift. I think it was around 10, 11 in the morning. I dropped her off at work. I came home. I had my own basement apartment at that age. And I remember I was tired because I stayed up the night before. I was a big gamer back then. So I just went right after dropping her off. I went right back home and laid down and went to go to sleep. And I don't know how long after it was, I started hearing knocking, and the knocking was pulling me out of my sleep. And I wasn't sure I was going to put this on video, but you know, there's stuff going on right now that makes me think this is probably a good thing to have documented. So there was this knocking. It was a steady knocking, even intervals, and I didn't really want to wake up because I was tired, and so I'm hearing this knocking, and I open. It was because it's a basement apartment. There's a high, small window in the room, and it had a drape over it, so it was low light, but it was the afternoon or close to afternoon, whenever that time was, and so as I come more out of sleep, I open my eyes, and it's completely black, and I'm like thinking to myself, okay, my eyes aren't open, I'm still sleeping. I'll open my eyes wider. So I'm trying to open my eyes wider, and I still don't see anything. I'm starting to get a little concerned. Don't want to panic, but I don't want to move because I'm trying to understand why I can't see. And I kind of realize what time of day it is. But at the same time, I'm like, why can't I see? Like, I should be able to see perfectly fine. So I'm opening my eyes even wider to the point I can feel my eyes fully wide open. I can feel them. And then the most horrifying situation happened. I was staring with my eyes wide open in a dim lit room, and the my focus, which was anticipating opening my eyes to maybe 3-4 feet away to a cupboard wall, seemed to clear in to something up close. And I realized that there was something right in front of my face. And I snapped my head back to see what was in front of my face. And this face came into view. And it had, just like people describe, very large black eyes. It looked kind of a narrowy, wrinkly skin. But I only saw it for a second. And then I blacked out. And then I came to, and I'm on my stomach. And I still remember the the sweater I was wearing. It was a purple sweater with like a knit sweater of some type. And so I remember being on my stomach, and then there's this tingling over my body that I was frozen. Like I was totally paralyzed. I could only move my eyes. And I'm trying to look over my shoulder, and I'm starting, like, it's scary. Because after just seeing that, everything going black, and then trying to look over my shoulder, I can see, this sounds stupid, but there is a small, I wanted to say female, but there was no indication of female, just maybe because of the size. Dressed all in white, looked like window sheer robe, and it had a veil down to its chin, and I could see from this part of the neck up in it would look like a copper brown wrinkled skin. Behind the veil, it was just dark. You could see it was darker than the veil itself. And I don't know where its left hand was. I presume maybe that's what was on my back with causing the paralysis. I don't know. But I could just barely see, and I'm telling you, your heartbeat 1,000 miles an hour. Like the fear of experiencing something like that while that's happening. I could see that its hand went out of my sight for a second, and it came back with what looked like fish tank tubing, a clear tube, and on the end of it, like a needle with like a clear green end. Very, very detailed. This was not sleep. And it went to go up, and I couldn't move. It went to push that up my right nostril. And I'm trying to push back, but I can't move. And there's this pain, and there's no pain in dreams. So I'm like, as the pain is coming on, there's this voice. It wasn't coming through my ears. It was repeating. It said it 3 times. It said, stay calm, pause. So it said, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. And every time the words were spoken, there was this peace, like the pain was gone. So it was almost an on-off effect of pain and fear, and no pain at all. But only during, almost you wanted to hear the words because it wasn't bad. So once it was going up so far, I did black out again. And I remember everything as clear as day, and that was decades ago. And I found myself sitting up, upright at the top of my bed, my hands back on the pillow as I came to again. And I'm looking down at the end of the bed, and there is what everyone describes as a gray. I mean, it was about, I'm guessing 4 feet, maybe a little less. I had a water bed. I remember the soft padded black rails at the bottom of the water bed. So it broke my view of its entire body, so I could see probably just down to its waist, and its hands were just out of sight, but they were clasped in front of it, right below its waist. So the arms seemed a little longer. And it was just standing there, and it kind of had its head down, and it was staring right at me, didn't say a thing, didn't move. And I'm telling you, when you're in that much fear in the moment, and I felt wide awake, you try to rationalize in your head, this isn't real. Like, I have to take control of this situation because this can't be happening. So I looked at it, and I yelled at it, and I said, "You're not real," and I'll keep the language clean. I said, "Why don't you get the F out?" And just like that, bang, I was blacked out again. And again, I came to, but I was on my stomach. Almost, it was like snap, snap, snap. Like there was no time. It was just like when you black out, you're in your different position. All of a sudden, you're coming to again. So I turned to jump up right away because I was terrified that there was something still in the room, although I couldn't see anything. So I carefully looked around the room, and again, that knocking never stopped outside the window. So it was outside the house, the high window. And when I tried to gather myself together, my heart still feels like it's going to pound out of my chest. I jumped up on the bed, and it was like I never woke up. It was just like blackness, like a second of blackness, and then bang, you're up. I never woke up from that time. That I jumped up on the bed, on the side rail, to try and look out the window. And just as I looked out the window, I could see across the driveway that was adjoining that window, a neighbor opening the side door, and just as I looked out, I could hear him through the glass say, "Oh, come on in." It's not reasonable to expect a repetitious, constant, evenly paced knocking the whole time. There was, and I don't know if it was because of my adrenaline at the time, but there was a heaviness to the room. And when I was in the presence of these things, it was, and I say that because almost like an energy in the room. And when I was in the presence of these things, I had the distinct impression, and I don't know where it comes from, that they were ancient. Perhaps thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, but they definitely came to my mind that they're ancient. Very, very long. I don't know why. And that's not something you would think about in a dream. You don't feel the pain of things going up your nose in a dream. You might hear things outside of a dream. But that's been my experience. The skin, going back to the one standing at the end of the bed, the skin of it was not gray as often described. It was chalk white. And those are the words, the description I gave it back then, and you can't forget. It is chalk white. That video that you can find on YouTube called the KGB Alien, that is, to me, almost identical to what I had seen in my room at the end of the bed. Now, the first two, I couldn't see the face of the second one, but the first one had a more longer and actually a little grayer, wrinkly face. But the short one that everyone talks about, the grays, had a tight black suit on. I would think of it like a diver suit, and I am a diver myself, but it's not as thick of like a 7mm neoprene. It's not like that. It was just very tight fitting. And it was black, and I don't remember if there was anything around its chest. Something makes me think there might have been. But the skin was chalk white. It looked exactly like that, almost exactly like the one in that video that you see online. And I think that people think that they are gray because in a darker lit atmosphere, like in a much darker room, you would quite easily mistake it for gray in a dark room if it's chalk white. But I will never forget that for the rest of my life. Now, it's never happened since. It never happened before. But that was not a dream. And I never awoke. Like, I awoke when I pulled myself out of sleep to the knocking. And I never woke from a sleep going, oh, that was a bad dream. Everybody has bad dreams. This was like nothing else, like no dream. This was very, very here and now, as much as I am outside right now. And that's why I'm making these videos, to let people know that when Luis Elizondo's talking about these objects, these craft that they're chasing, showing they can see occupants inside, absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. Now, who they are, or what they are, where they're from, I would think that if anything could enter somebody else's room like that without opening doors. However they got there, I don't know. But the doors were locked. They're always locked. There's how it would get in there leads me to think that these are interdimensional beings. They somehow come through into the third dimension, where we are. That's the distinct impression that I get. Now, they may be capable of existing in other places, but they're able somehow to enter locked premises. And I don't know how they're doing that, obviously. But scariest day of my life. Scariest day. There's something going on, and I'm going to make more videos about it. I got a lot more to say. This is probably one of the more difficult videos to make that I would consider putting online. But I would like to start becoming part of that main conversation going on right now. I'm keeping a close eye on it, and I think everyone else should be as well. There's a lot happening in the government right now, and if anyone's watching this video and thinking that, there's nothing to this, that's going to change.